If you go online right now, there's nothing but hate. And I caught a lot of shit for saying, hey, it really sucks that Charlie Kirk was shot in front of his wife and kids. And actually that he was a courageous man, because unlike 99% of people, he was going into quote unquote hostile spaces, people that disagreed with him, and having debate. Now, I didn't agree with most everything that came out of his mouth, but I got a lot of hate from the left for saying that. That was, again, it was another flashpoint, another touch point about like, what if we just took a week or a month or a period of time to just love Charlie Kirk's family? How much love and compassion could we bring to those kind of situations? Because I think that folks on both sides are villainizing the other sides in ways that are incredibly toxic and ultimately not productive.
6 days after Kirk's murder, I found myself on a plane to a rural part of Indiana in order to speak on a college campus with students. And I was afraid, Rainn, as much as I found Kirk's ideas absolutely abhorrent. He was killed while speaking to students. It felt so personal and so intimate and so visceral. And I believe that in a time when the future of our country, our democracy is at stake, all of us are called to lead with our humanity above all. And so I understand people's even like reluctance into affording humanity to someone who denied their own. I understand that. And I feel that those of us who are able to alchemize our grief and our rage into action are called to lead with love above all. And so, I mean, right now they're using that horrific act of political violence to wage a campaign of mighty vengeance against anyone who opposes this government's agenda. So they're targeting our nonprofits, our foundations. They're putting our names and faces
against
on
this.
lists.
There's a lot of use of the word "they are."
Yes.
And I struggle with that. I have a hard time saying they are doing this.
Yes.
Like, there are some people in the current administration that are doing that. And there are some that are not. And there's a lot of moderates that are looking for solutions. And they're not representing necessarily the interests of the people in Kansas and Missouri and Indiana. So it becomes a kind of, even when you say they are doing that, it becomes almost a demonizing use of the word they.
I think it's important to recognize that there are opponents. So when I say they,
I have a problem with the word opponent.
That's so
because
funny.
I think it's like the opponent is someone that we box. It's someone that we fight. And I think it's someone we profoundly disagree with and we need to encounter in a proactive way that will create change. Now, I'm different than a lot. There's a lot of lefties who are kind of like, fuck that. No, they're fucking racist. And I'm going to throw a Molotov cocktail at their face. And I certainly understand that. But I do think that we're on the same page in terms of like, if you look at the example of the great spiritual leaders, Jesus was nothing but dehumanized. And he humanized everyone he encountered, even though he was dehumanized and his people were dehumanized. The same thing happened with the Buddha. And I'm sure in your Sikh tradition too, and this idea of see no stranger, like the persecution that your religious order suffered is like none that the world has ever seen for generations. And yet the Sikh fought when their lives were threatened and their families were threatened, but they also tried to encounter with love.
Nako bedi nahi bagana.
Welcome.
I see no enemy. I see no stranger. When I use the word opponent, it is actually my choice to see the humanity of the person across from me. I don't use the word enemy. An enemy is a fixed and permanent identity, but an opponent is anyone whose ideas, words, or actions oppose your own. They may stay my opponent this whole lifetime, but they might not. And just thinking that is a revolutionary act. It means that I can orient to them by tending their wound. There are no such thing as monsters in this world. There are only human beings who are wounded, who act out of their insecurity, their greed, their rage. This does not make them any less dangerous. But when I choose to see their wound, they lose their power over me. And instead of endlessly reacting, right, from the fumes of hostility, I can sit in my deepest wisdom and in that place of love in me and respond from there. So actually, Rainn, when I use the word opponent, it's humanizing the person who is working against my existence. And that helps me choose to fight in a different way. I block their actions with one hand, but I extend the other with the hope that they will take it, or one day their children might take it. For the brief high of domination is nothing compared to the infinite love and joy of true community. And that's why I can call myself a civil rights leader, an activist that is operating from this deep spiritual tradition that sees no stranger, that changes how I fight. So Charlie Kirk is my opponent, and I choose to mourn him as a human being who's lost his life for what he believed. In the same way, I ask everyone who is opposing us to extend to us the humanity that they seem to be denying us.
Yeah, that's beautifully said. And I get that. And that really resonates. I guess for me, because as a proponent of a spiritual revolution, I'm trying to kind of sit in the middle and call people to a higher conversation.
Yes.
As you are as well. And the issue too with opponent is it becomes the person becomes the problem and not the idea. My opponent is the vilification of immigrants, because we have a broken immigration system in this country. We can't have open borders. We can't have tens of thousands of people crossing in a day. We can't. It would just blow up the economy. It's not sustainable. So we need to fix our immigration system, but we need to do it with humanity and with love and with kindness and with a deep understanding of where these refugees are coming from, whether they're economic or political. But the idea of vilification of immigrants and demonizing them, that is as old as the hills in humanity and has led to some of the worst pogroms and catastrophes in human history. And we have to recognize that idea I find abhorrent.
Yes.
And that's my opponent. And some people are putting forward that. But I have to get really careful to not make them the boogeyman. Like a lot of people that I interact with hate Donald Trump. We may cut this. Who knows? They hate Donald Trump, right? But it's like, it's not about Trump. It's about Trumpism, because there's 40% of the country that voted for Trumpism and Trumpish ideas. And those ideas are what we have to tackle, get underneath, take apart, shed light on. And how do you do that? Do you do that by shouting? Do you do that by calling people evil? Do you do it by calling them racist? Or do you really unpack the terror of those ideas?
There is room for every person in the world that we are fighting for. There is not room for every idea. I agree.
Well said.
And I believe that there are some of us who need to create safe spaces to process our grief and our rage, to fight in the courts, to fight in the streets. That's for some of us, that is our primary role. That is our post. For others of us, we might be in a position to listen to our opponents, to tend the wound, to hear their story, to hear what's at stake for them, and then to hold up a vision of a future of an America that leaves no one behind, not even them. I think we need room for all of us in the ecosystem of like the movement and transitioning this country.
The Soul Boom Podcast. Subscribe now on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and wherever else you get your stupid podcasts.